Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna talk about veils, bridal veils. And this video is for you if you are a bride-to-be and you have maybe not yet made up your mind whether you want a veil, or maybe you know already that you want a veil but you do not know yet what kind of a veil, what style of veil do you want to go for. Maybe you have not really a general idea of all the options that are out there. Well, in this case this video is for you. I'm going to be addressing all the different style of veils, but also the different qualities of tulle and lace that are out there, and I will also be revealing 2 suppliers to royal courts that you can also order from. So if you should identify with anything of what I said, then please bear with me. So let's get right into it. So what are the different style of veils out there? Well, first of all, and that's probably the smallest one you can go for, it is the bird cage. It is, you know, this French net that is generally attached to a fascinator or to a head. Sometimes, very rarely, it's only attached to your hair with a comb or with jewelry. Then this is really nice, especially I find for short dresses, or if you want to wear a suit or a jumpsuit for a civil wedding, or maybe a wedding that is very private and is going to be held, let's say, in a very small setting. Now, as it's very nice to have jewelry on your fascinator or also to hold back the net, I would suggest that if you have not yet any headpiece to hold back the French net, why don't you have a look at my video on bridal jewelry, because there you will find a list of hand-selected designers of vintage costume jewelry that I would recommend you look for on Etsy or on Ruby Lane. The next kind of style that you can go for is the flyaway veil, or it's also called fingertip veil. Well, this kind of veil, as the name says, is so as long as it goes down to the fingertip or minimum to the elbow. And this was a style that came up during the Second World War in the 1930s, because it was very difficult to get textile, especially tulle, but all fabrics were rationalized. Now, if you go for such a short veil in the tradition, because of those times, it would also be that this is a very simple veil with not very much going on, not very adorned. This has also to do with the texture of the tulle, because if it's too adorned, or if you have more than a horsehair trim, then you have to be careful that this kind of veil doesn't stand out too much and not too far away from your body. So bear that in mind. If this is the veil for you, then try them on and see how the veil falls. So the next style is the ballet or the waltz veil, and the name says it all. So that was a bit later, it was around the 1940s, so things went a bit better. You could afford and get more fabric and more tulle, and then the veils got longer, and it was also this tradition of the first dance. And if you today are a bride where you say, oh, I like this idea of the veil and I do not want to take it off or to have to take it up or hold it, then this kind of veil is a very nice solution if you want to keep the veil on during the entire evening, or at least for the first dance with your groom, with your husband and your father. And and this kind of veil goes down maximum to knee or half calf length. And then we have the chapel veil, or even more dramatic, the cathedral veil. Well, these are both veils. The chapel veil lies on the floor, is a bit longer than your dress, and the cathedral veil can be as long as you want it. I mean, think about Meghan Markle. I mean, she had a very long, I think it was something like 5 foot long, a very impressive cathedral veil. There's many pros and cons for any of these styles. You have to think about the entire appearance. My recommendation would be, if you want a very adorned, a very embellished dress, let's say with a lot of lace or with a lot of beading going on, then it's a good idea maybe to take it a little back when it comes to the accessories, and maybe don't take a veil. But if you say, no, I want definitely a veil, this is for me part of being a bride, then I would recommend that you go for a rather simpler one, a very nice simple trim and nothing much going on. Well, if you say, no, but I want rather a very simple dress that is maybe made out of the finest material, as I suggested in my wedding dress video, then you can of course put all the glam in the accessories and you can go into very adorned veils. Now there are very beautiful historical veils out there in royal families. One of my preferred ones is the one from the Swedish royal family. In fact, it's a German veil from the Saxon Coburg, but it was inherited or brought by a bride, and now Queen Sylvia wore it when she married King Carl Gustav, and her daughter Crown Princess Victoria wore it, but it's only reserved to the Crown Princess. Her sister did not wear this veil. So as you can see, it's a really beautiful piece. And yeah, and if you're not so lucky to have such a piece in your family, but you say, yeah, I really want to go for something like that, then I have good news for you, because you can get these kind of things nowadays still. There are only two sources that I can indicate you, and one of the sources, I know that she has customers from all over the world. So among her customers, the royal courts of Spain, Jordania and Nepal, but you can also order from her. I have asked Encarnita to tell us a little bit about her disappearing art, and let's welcome Encarnita. Encarnita Berrio, she took the time to talk to us. She's one of the last ladies in the world who is doing embroidering by hand for veils and also mantillas, which are being worn in religious feasts in the south of Spain, in Andalusia. I'm gonna do the interview in Spanish and then you will see the subtitles in English. So, esa tradición de Andalucía, del encaje hecho a mano, ¿de cuándo data esa tradición y qué es la diferencia con los encajes de otras regiones del mundo?
En Andalucía, concretamente en la provincia de Granada, comenzó hacia finales del siglo XVIII. La diferencia de las mantillas hechas en Granada a hechas en el resto del mundo, nosotros trabajamos sobre la materia prima en la que se dibuja, se perfila, nosotros llamamos perfilar, el diseño. Una vez que está perfilado se retira el dibujo y hay que ir rellenando todos los motivos, como una especie de turbino. Se lleva su calado, ojete.
Y hoy en día las novias, ¿qué tipo de velo le piden? Porque hay los largos de catedral, hay los más cortos. ¿Qué le están pidiendo? También hay esos velos que se ponen enfrente de la cara. ¿Eso también se piden todavía o eso es muy antiguo?
No, sí hay quien le gusta a lo mejor el velo muy bordado y quiere que le dejemos un trozo de la parte de adelante para llevarlo por la cara. Pero que mayormente no, eso a lo mejor es un caso aislado, mayormente son los velos bordados, sí, tipo catedral, entre 2,5 metros y 3,5 metros es lo que más se hace, y luego por las que quieren llevar mantilla, porque llevan un traje a lo mejor de volante, pues alguna boda que haya rociera o haya, pero mayormente es pues, el velo que es ovalado y la mantilla.
El precio varía del tiempo que usted tiene que invertir en el trabajo. Si una novia decide contactarle, ¿qué tiene que contar? ¿Al mínimo y al máximo?
Los precios, pues para que ya un velo quede bonito y luzca, pues como a partir de unos 3.000 euros se puede hacer más barato, pero eso ya pues se va viendo con la novia según el presupuesto que tiene y los gustos pues se van adaptando.
¿Cuántos meses antes de la boda tienen que pedir un velo para que usted tenga el tiempo y puede realizar la pieza como quieren?
Pues aproximadamente contamos siempre con 8 o 10 meses, dependiendo, luego a lo mejor no por eso que dejen de contactar y bien porque la boda esté cerca, porque normalmente tengo velos también hechos disponibles que siempre tienen que contar, claro, con alrededor de 8 meses.
Muchísimas gracias, Encarnita, para explicarnos todo eso. Yo entiendo que usted no tiene sucesora, es decir, que si alguien ve este video y está interesado en aprender cómo hacer el encaje andaluciano a mano, ¿usted estaría preparada a aprenderlo a alguien?
Sí, por supuesto.
Gracias para su tiempo. As you can see, it's quite sad because we know that unless somebody comes up and takes over her atelier, these kind of pieces will not be found. And of course, they are not cheap, as she pointed out, but maybe it's a present that can be given to you by your father or your parents or your groom. And of course, they are meant to be handed down to other generations. It's not to be worn only one time. And maybe you think about it. In the description box down below, I will put down the contact data. And the second supplier that you can turn to, the Royal School of Needlework in London. And I don't know if they can name a student they can contact, but I know that the veil that Meghan Markle had, that this was hand-stitched by a student of the Royal School of Needlework. I could not find the name of the person, but if you should contact the Royal School of Needlework, they should be able to. So please have a look at my description box down below. Please also make sure that if you go for a simple veil, or even also for those adorned veils, that you pay attention to the quality of the tulle. Because Encarnita told me it's very, very difficult to find fine tulle nowadays, and please don't go for polyester because it's very shiny. If, for example, you have a silk dress and a high quality dress, you can by no means combine it with a polyester veil. So please make sure that you go for silk tulle. If you go for simple unadorned veils, then go for at least for silk tulle, and it can have a very simple trim, but then at least the material is beautiful. Once you have decided that you want a veil and you have made up your mind on the style of veil you want to go for, you also have to ask yourself how you want to wear it. I mean, of course, you can wear a veil, you know, to cover your head completely, or it covers the back of your head, or you put it down below. If you have an updo, you can put it below the updo, because that will also define the complete length of the veil that you need. Because the higher up you put it, the longer the veil needs to be in order to fall down and down to the floor. So think about that. It's all a complete concept. And also, there is one kind of veil that I have not mentioned so far, is whether you want to go for a blusher or not. A blusher is this veil that you put in front of your face. We have last seen it on a royal wedding that was Meghan Markle. She wore it. And if you should want a blusher, then you have also to think about the point in time during the ceremony when you want it to be lifted. So that can be towards the very beginning, like Harry and Meghan did, or you can do it later on, for example, after the vows even. And also you have to think, do you want to lift the blusher yourself, or do you want your groom, your future husband, to do that for you? Now there's a lot of symbolism, because such a blusher is obviously something very traditional. If, for example, your future husband lifts up the blusher, then this has also this symbolism that it might be that he's taken over. It can also be very pragmatic, don't get me wrong. It can also be that you only want to make sure that it looks correctly and neat, and that it doesn't get caught up in some jewelry or in your hair, and that you look beautiful. But you have to think about all those details if you should decide to wear a blusher, which is a very nice thing, but it makes things complicated, and it is obviously very traditional. I would, for example, not see that with a short dress. If you should opt for a veil, you also want to know what the symbolism behind the veil is and where does this tradition come from. So back in the old days, it was always the case that married women would wear something on their head in church or also in the synagogue. So that was in the Christian or Jewish religion, that was a given, and in the Orthodox religions that's today still the case. So a married woman would never go into a religious ceremony with nothing on her head. So this has been in very traditional circles, is still the case. So this is one thing. But it also dates back to the times when the groom had to marry his bride unseen. So she stayed covered up till the very last moment. But the first, let's say, modern bride who wore a veil, that was Queen Victoria in 1940. And since then, the veil has become the bridal accessory. I mean, some of you have already seen this TV program called Say Yes to the Dress, and how often is it the case that the brides, even though they have tried on several dresses or they have their dress on, but they don't feel like a bride yet, but the moment they put on the veil, that's the first time they get this feeling. So it is obviously nowadays the accessory that is the bridal accessory, and it is associated to the bride. So even if it's not a symbol for virginity anymore nowadays, it is still in traditional circles still reserved to a first-time bride, such as the white or ivory dress is as well. I'm talking about really traditional circles. So as most of you have already probably guessed, is the top that I'm wearing today is the very top that I have been wearing at my wedding, because I had a bustier dress in ivory, and during the ceremony and during the dinner I wore this long sleeved hand embroidered by Encarnita Berrio overlay top over my dress, and here you can see the very, very fine quality it has, and the design was made according to our wishes, and it's a very, very special piece. But as you can see, you can combine it with a nice top, and it's still an elegant piece that I can also wear when I go out. But I cherish, of course, it's very dear to me, and bears the nicest memories, and I'm very happy to wear it. It's the first time that I'm wearing it after my wedding, just to present it to you. And also I want to show you obviously my veil. I will show you several pictures of it. So here you can see where I stand on the stairs. You see it in full length, and it's a very, very beautiful piece, also completely bespoke, one of a kind. And if you want to see it a little closer up, please have a look. So you see those flowers, and they're like all those little holes that she's hand stitched. And a very, very nice detail is also, I will also make a separate video one day on invitations, and what I find also very, very beautiful is to have a monogram made for you. And this is a detail that many don't realize, that every royal wedding, for every royal wedding, there are always monograms being developed for the couple, and we had ours stitched in our veil. And then maybe also to show you the detail, as I said, you have to think how you will be wearing the veil at your wedding in order to know the length that you need. So before I show you that, here, have a look at this wonderful detail of the border. Look. It's incredible. It's really incredible. And I will hand it down to my niece, because we got married quite late, my husband and I. So also I was thinking, okay, you know, being 49 years old, will I be wearing a veil or not, or is it over the top? And my mom, she's very traditional, and I went to see her, and she said, well, you're getting married for the first time, and you're getting married in church, so you're perfectly entitled to wear a veil nowadays and to have an ivory dress. And then when I had this okay from my mom, who's very, you know, very traditional and goes by all those rules, and she wouldn't find it ridiculous, then I was reassured. And in the beauty of those details, then I thought it's just pieces of art, and I can help also artisans like Encarnita. But it's not me who helped her. In fact, these were wedding gifts from my husband. So he offered me the veil and the top. He participated in the design of the lace, but obviously he didn't see the finished piece before the wedding. So now here, have a look. So this is how the veil looks on the top. So it is fixed like that. Encarnita did it as well. So you have those combs, and they sat beneath my bun, and they have this little border here. So you see it, it's very similar to, if you think about the picture of Queen Sylvia, I pop it up again. Hers is a bit longer, Queen Sylvia of Sweden, but it's really, really beautiful. And now we come to the last, and how I find very, very beautiful accessory that you should really think of, if not in lace, but then of any other kind. But if you're getting married in summer or in regions where it's very hot, I recommend that you get a fan. And this fan here was obviously, as you can see, made by Encarnita again, and she offered it to me. And isn't that a beauty? And I can tell you, I was really happy to to have it because on the day of my wedding we had 40 degrees Celsius. This is really hot for those who do not know. I don't know in Fahrenheit, but that's really hot for Europe. It was in Vienna. And also think about fans. It might seem a very traditional thing, and it is, but it's a very, very nice giveaway for your female guests. For men there are also small fans, black, but I think that some men will probably hesitate to make use of it. But I always find it good when the giveaways are a present that you can really use and also use later on for other occasions. So that being said, if you like this video, please subscribe, share and hit the notification bell. And in my next video I will be addressing shoes, and as you are probably already expecting from me, I will present you sources where you can get individualized shoes, but they are absolutely affordable and not more expensive than other beautiful shoes. So, auf Wiedersehen und bis bald!